Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Flat Pack Show, episode 56. I'm, of course, Flatmeister, your big host. Unfortunately, Crumple Point has been prematurely executed at the chopping block.
Oh my god.
So it's just me, it's Switch Point.
Yo.
You ready to get your head lopped off?
I mean, what, it'll be like a chicken scenario? I'll be able to move around for a little bit. And,
live for like another 20 odd years without a head.
Joke's on you if you tried on me. I'm lit.
And we've got Nerd Waffle as well.
Hello, as I stated before, I'm a lich, so I will just rise from the dead. I think that's what liches do.
So, yeah, I came up with this topic idea. It was a few weeks ago. It's a little bit of a. I mean, in terms of fiction, like, you know, to sort of creatively come up with these ideas, but the very concept of torture is a very dark, and it's one of the worst things humanity is capable of. I was going to ask you guys, so what with the like I was saying to you just before we went live, I was reading up on the ethical dilemma of torture, like they use the go-to is the ticking time bomb situation, or the ticking time bomb dilemma. What are your guys' thoughts on torture with regards to, oh, there's a terrorist and he's got a nuclear bomb?
I mean, what comes to mind when I think of torture in fiction is Star Wars with Han Solo, and he's just like, they torture him, and he's just like, they didn't even ask me any questions. I'm like, that's gotta be. I mean, everybody laughs at that because it's kind of, I don't know, it's terrible, but it's humorous. I was like, I think that would be an insane torture in a fiction is just like torturing. I mean, the Joker does it too, you know, just torture for the sake of torture. There's no even point to it, you know?
Yeah. What about you, Switch? What's your thoughts on the ethical dilemma?
ethical dilemma of torture?
Mm.
I mean, honestly, it's couldn't tell you. I mean, like, it's one of those things where, like, I can't really say too much on it because it's like one of those different societies have different rules on what they consider ethical and not ethical. Like, do I consider, like, personally, like, I mean, I consider something ethical, but, like, if you grew up with a different setting and a different rulings and different group ideas, I guess you'd have a different idea of what is and isn't ethical at that point. You know,
I mean, especially as we're moving into like this digital age, like where. Bear with me on this. This will sound quite weird with this tangent. I said we've got such technology like deep fakes. Have you heard of this, Nerd Waffle, of deep fakes?
No, I haven't.
Right, this is going to sound weird of a tangent, but bear with me. Deep fakes is like this new trend where they're able to put celebrities' faces onto and make it look like it's onto porn stars' bodies, and it actually looks like the celebrity is having sex.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Well, you've seen a deep fake, have you?
Yeah,
So
I've seen
something new. They've
So is there
You've been using that technology to like make these celebrities also like work on to like be able to do like live shows, like just like remake the live shows and make it look like and like have the screens similar to that of like a digital version.
Yeah. So like, imagine if like pretty much now to in the future, whether with sort of psychological interrogation and torture, with governments or whichever creating not porn deepfakes, but like torture deepfakes of like a terrorist's family or something, for instance, where they're able to like superimpose, this family members' faces onto these bodies, and whether this torture that's being shown to this person being interrogated, whether that's real torture or whether it's like staged and or it's acted. So it's a strong possibility that is the kind of sort of psychological torture / interrogation methods of the future.
Possibly. Who are we to say?
Because there was this whole like with the whole, I don't want to get too political, but the whole Iraq War and interrogating. There was the whole waterboarding. Like people found waterboarding an extremely unethical method of torture.
True.
Yeah. I think that's pretty crazy. Now, what I have a question. Sorry. Do you guys think, like, I'm just thinking of Harry Potter. I know that's
read a different book.
for some reason, waterboarding reminded me of Harry Potter, but no.
The
boy who lived, the boy who lived from waterboarding. But like, what was it? I forget which curse it is, but the cruci. Well, I think all of the curses are considered torture, but I don't think. Maybe I'm getting conflicted because I don't think it is. But there's one that is definitely torture, and it's the curse that you can control the actions of the other person or being or thing or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, like, how important do you guys think it is to have something in that when it comes to world building? Like, is there something like that people should add into their stories and fiction that is something that's like unspeakable, horrible torture within a world kind of thing, sort of world building?
So I think it's a lot, especially if like you're in a visual medium, with like psychological torture and trauma. There's so many more sort of creative opportunities with doing sort of psychological, like if someone's able to enter your brain and is able to mess with you psychologically.
What do you think, Switch?
Psychological torture?
No, just like with adding. Do you think it's beneficial for a writer, or like not necessarily a writer, sorry, but like a creator to come up with some sort of torture that fits their world, kind of like Harry Potter has the Cruciatus curse or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Do you think it's important for someone to do something like that?
I mean, definitely. I don't think it's important, but I mean, it's in the realm of possibility of things that works. You know what I mean? Like when you're creating things, like you have to understand like what might be considered torture for us might not be considered torture in a different timeline, in a different world. So not to mention, like, even if you're introducing like certain types of creatures, I mean, for all we know, torture to like one of us, like to something like us, maybe not be torture to something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I shall make you eat a mayonnaise sandwich with no filling, just mayonnaise.
I thought you said a Kamehameha sandwich. That wouldn't be torture. That would be instant death. It's like, here's 2 pieces of bread. Wait, how is this a sandwich? Kamehameha.
Yeah, like I was saying, with sort of connected to your point about world building, yeah, like I said, yeah, the using sort of psychological, like I said, in a visual medium with psychological trauma, there's so many creative opportunities, and also you can world build with that, like you said, with Harry Potter, a form of psychological or tortures is like these curses. So that's magic in that world building of Harry Potter. That it's a magical curse.
Well, and you know, look at the Joker too. Like that's definitely a tool for because he tortures people all the time. Well, depending on the story, but like let's look at you know, the Killing Joke. It's like he does all sorts of different forms of torture, but they're sort of in a different way than what we would think, right?
Yeah. I've still yet to watch the bloody Killing Joke animated movie, but yeah, how he completely degrades Jim Gordon and Barbara.
Yeah.
But I mean, torture. Even throughout history, like some of the worst torture methods or or corporal punishment methods in history that people are like the one that always sticks in my mind is the brazen bull.
I've heard of that, but I can't quite remember what it is.
This was it Greek or Roman time? Ancient. I feel like it's ancient Roman. No, Greek. Yeah. It's Greek. I think it's Greek. But this creator made it was an empty, hollowed out brass bull. It was made of brass, and it was the shape of a bull. And they had this this little compartment where they would place someone inside, and then they would put hot coals and a fire underneath this bull, and that it would literally cook someone alive inside this bull. And they had these pipes that would make this, like, the sounds of the screams would carry through these pipes and come out the mouth of the brazen bull, and it would make this weird like roaring noise. Was it a whistling? It was a really horrifying sound. And I remember I think it was in the movie The Immortals with Henry Cavill. I feel like it was in that movie where they showed a brazen bull, like the camera pans past this statue of a bull and this weird noise is coming from it, and the noise they chose for it was bloody freaky. But what was it? See, the emperor said to the inventor of this brazen bull, he went, "All right, okay then, prove it to me that it makes this noise, or prove to me that it works." And he ordered his guards to put the inventor inside the bull. Like, how cruel is that? Like, hello, Emperor, I've created one of the most dastardly inventions of all. All right, okay, prove to me that it works. Oh dear, and then chuck him inside. Nasty.
Oh.
I mean, I'd say one of the see, as though we were talking about Vic Mignogna and stuff, the modern version of torture is having a witch hunt on you on Twitter.
Well, yeah, there's DMs that were found, actually, the whole Vic Mignogna thing, that were like talking about how, well, they should that it's okay to, like, some people were talking about how it might be okay to, like, fake evidence or to try to make him look worse than he actually is.
Because they think it's because, like, I'm not saying it is, but because in their mind, creating fake evidence is going to help their situation.
They think it's a game, don't they?
Like, it's like, oh, well, we found pictures of him. It doesn't look like he's doing anything, like, extremely bad. Well, can we make it look like it's worse, though?
They're going to do that superimpose thing or whatever.
Superimposing his hand on some fan's breast or something.
Yeah, like...
But here's the thing, though. Has any report been made to the police?
Nothing that I could Nothing you can find.
That's why I hope he lawyers up. And
No.
don't worry, folks at home. We are still staying on topic with regards to the law and
to stay on topic. Actually, I was going to bring up something. This is and this applies to the whole Vic situation, and this applies to multiple situations. But it's so weird that what essentially we're getting a lot these days is essentially, I mean, not exactly the same, but very similar to the Salem witch trials, where it's like, oh, if we're gonna put them in water, and if they drowned, they weren't a witch.
Yeah.
And if they or if they drown, they weren't a witch. If they float, they are a witch, and we'll burn them. So you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
Yeah.
And they hunted people down without evidence whether they were that they were a witch or not. It's just like, and anybody could really say it, like anybody could be like, oh, I don't like that woman over there. She's a witch. Get her,
Yeah.
And that's essentially what's happening now. Is that it's like, oh, that person's, to paraphrase, a witch. Let's burn them at the stake, and if they survive, well, they're guilty, and if they don't survive, well, oh well, just another loss.
Yeah. I mean, what was it? Nightwolf Plays. We've had him on a stream before. He did a video recently with his sort of opinion on the whole Vic Mignogna situation, and he cited this. I can't remember what it was exactly. Oh, shit! Something's going on with my bloody laptop. What's going on? Sorry. He was saying about he cited this seriously, something is going on with my freaking laptop. Sorry. Yeah, this he cited this anecdote from someone at college where their teacher did this thought experiment. He said, right, he goes, I'm going to go around the class and I'm going to whisper in your ear whether you are a witch or not. And he goes, your objective is the people with the who aren't witches, with the most amount of witches in their group, on their team, they will fail this class, this semester or whichever. So loads of people were like, oh, okay. So he's whispering around. He then announces, he goes, right, can everyone who is a witch put your hand up? Nobody put their hands up. Students start going, oh, you must have done the thing wrong. You've done it wrong. He went, no, I haven't. He goes, how many of those people at the Salem witch trials were actually witches? So, of course, no one's going to admit they're a witch if they weren't. But how easy it was for...
well, yeah, back then they didn't need... Well, I mean, I say back then, but really now as well. They didn't need any evidence to prove the person was a witch, other than she was a female. But then again, people got burned or killed for... well, that happens also now, is that anybody who tries to stand up for this person, say, no, they're not, paraphrasing, witch, gets lumped in as like, oh, you're this or that, you're one of them, or you're a sympathizer, or you're whatever, So it's essentially just like social mob mentality, and it's kind of disgusting because we think we evolve, like, we look at our society and we're like, oh, we're so much smarter and more advanced than those idiots back in the medieval ages, or like 1900s or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, we're so much smarter than them. And it's like, no, it might not use physical pitchforks and torches anymore, but have we really grown? Have we really learned? Have we really advanced
Evolved.
from mob mentality?
Mm.
And I would say no, we haven't. We're probably even worse these days with mob mentality.
Yeah, it's just the tools have changed. Rather than torches and pitchforks, it's social media.
It's cell phones and laptops. I don't know, cell phones and PCs or.
Mm. I mean, it is bloody. Oh, sorry. Go on, I was just to say, yeah, it is bloody terrifying.
Well, I mean, yeah. So yeah, like the question of, the question of what counts as, what counts as torture. Now, what about like public executions or public, or even not public executions or public like spectacles of like torture? What about those? You know what I mean? Like one could say like this social media type of thing, right? Is like public torture for not only for the person being tortured, but also for the fans who have to watch it and don't believe that the person is guilty, right? So like for them, it's a public form of like, well, why are you torturing us with this when this should be like something they should be going to court and be like looked at properly? No. You have to watch it now. You have to see this, right?
And you have to be part of our side.
Yeah. And so this is something that should be used in movies or TV shows. So like as an example where, like say like your hero is captured, right? And they make a display of the hero, and then you get to watch them like be burned and like scratched up and beaten and stuff like that. It doesn't even have to be a hero; it could just be like the person that like the main protagonist. And of course, his friends are watching on and in disgust and like can't do anything, right? Like they're part of the audience at this point, but they have to watch this and they have to accept it. But like it's being televised across the galaxy or across like the world or anywhere, right? This is something that we have seen before, right? Hell, imagine like even as a good example, right? Like imagine you're the mother and you're watching this, right? What does that feel like for you, right? Or the father or anything of that nature. All this is important information because now we have to, accept like what are the consequences of this thing happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, these are important. These are aspects that you have to then not only you're watching this live, and not only you are potentially watching this live, but you are potentially, seeing what makes like what is this. What is the torture not only for the individual, what is the torture for the people who have to witness it?
Yeah.
So that's another aspect of this that we have to consider too.
Have you noticed this with movies or TV shows and games when like it's weird how they frame it, right? And how you feel about the torture depending on whether it's the bad guy doing it or it's the good guy doing it to a bad guy. And it's weird that we kind of accept it and kind of rooting for the good guy. It feels like it was almost like a cathartic feeling from it when the good guy. I mean, obviously it depends on the context and the story, but it's weird that when it's framed as it's the bad guy torturing someone, it's absolutely horrific and horrendous. But then when a good guy is torturing someone, I mean, Batman, for instance, like he technically physically and mentally tortures people. I mean, he hangs them upside down by their ankle via his grappling hook, making them think they're gonna fall 10 stories.
Yeah.
Well, it's an interesting point you bring this up, right? Like when Batman does it, there's an expectation from us that Batman's not going to kill someone, right? Where like, but then there's also the point where somebody's actually brought it up to Batman before, where like, so would you say it's okay when somebody brings up to Batman, "Hey man, you're going too far," right? Because like we have seen that happen before, where somebody goes up to Batman and says, "Hey dude, I think you're going too far with this."
Well, and I think that it's slightly different with Batman most of the time. And he does go too far, like Switch is saying. I think his would be more considered interrogation than torture. And again, I might be like just making this up out of my head, so it could be completely wrong definition wise. But I would say interrogation is, you can use some torture methods or whatever to get information. Or I'd almost say that torture would be something where it's to make someone upset rather than, like, there's no purpose of getting any information. Whereas Batman uses it to get information, the Joker would use it to upset people.
Yeah, just being
Or-
a sadist.
Yeah.
Mm.
But again, but like Switch had a good point too, though. Like, Batman goes too far with it sometimes. That I forget if it was in a comic or a TV show or both, where someone was like, "You almost have too much fun with this for it to be interrogation."
Well, it's not even like that. Like, it's not only like, oh, you have too much fun with it to be interrogation. There was a point, if I remember correctly, where somebody actually went up to him and said, "Yo, like I remember, I think there was like a comic I read where somebody went up to him and was like, you're going too far." And yeah, no, there was a comic I read where he was interrogating like Frankenstein to try to figure out, like, okay, what makes you tick? Like, why are you able to, like, what brought you back to life? How does that work, right? And then there was like, so somebody actually came up and stopped him and said, "Okay, you're going too far. Literally, you're starting to take apart Frankenstein. Like, this is this is too far even for you." Right? And like, I get it. Like, you're trying to figure out what brought Frankenstein because you lost your son. But like, there's a point where we say, "Yo, dude, like, step off." You know what I mean? You know, like, even like, and that's something to definitely take a part of in this case scenario. Like, even where even Batman doesn't realize, like, oh, maybe I am going too far. Maybe I am, you know, like, he doesn't, like, because the thing is like, when he's driven by like his level of emotion or whatever it is that's like driving him at that point, he doesn't realize that, oh, maybe I am going too far, you know?
Yeah. Wasn't it in White Knight where I think it was Batman White Knight in Sean Gordon Murphy's run, and he rams those pills down the Joker's throat, doesn't he?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, that moment was really, it was quite shocking because you could see the Joker just frothing at the mouth, and it was all beaten and bloody, and yeah, it looked pretty grim. Just choking on all these pills.
Want the pills? You can have them.
But I mean, to be someone that does the interrogate, or does the torture, you have to be a certain personality type to really sort of disconnect yourself from your humanity with doing something like that.
Yep, there's always a part of that, right? Like, where doing it sometimes, like, it is indicated, like, doing it is a level of accepting, like, you are doing something that might be considered wrong, right? Like,
yeah,
or
it's something that can change you as a person, can't it? Like, if you're at first a normal, nice person, and then someone does something to a family member or friend, and sort of getting
you go Liam Neeson.
Going Liam Neeson. If you it's the same with taking revenge, or torturing someone that has wronged you. You're not going to be the same person again before you did it. It's not going to heal. It's not going to heal that wound.
No, it really isn't.
Yeah. So yeah, it's bloody terrifying to think that we are all, all humans are, I think, in our sort of basic animal instinct, a caveman brain, I think we are all capable of snapping and doing some, resorting to something like that.
Of course, yeah.
It's pretty terrifying to think about it. Like, just actually how easy and fragile it is to snap like that. That we really aren't that far from snapping and doing something heinous.
We really are not.
But we here at the Flat Pack are a very civilized bunch of folks. We wouldn't dream of...
I promise, yes.
Speak for yourself.
Stop right there, criminal scum! You violated the law. Now pay the fine.
The Flat Pack, Nerd Waffle takes out the guy who did something. I don't know, somewhere.
I'm the guy who is the guy that you go to when you need a guy.
See, I was asking some... I asked Rabbit Sensei of what could he come up with. I don't think anyone else responded back to this, but of any methods of torture like that you could come up for your world building within your, if you're writing a book or comic book or whichever, coming up with a fictional torture method. And Rabbit Sensei really channeled his inner torturer here. He said to dip someone's fingers into liquid nitrogen and then to grab a hammer and smash them one finger at a time, forcing the person to watch while they can't even feel their fingers anymore, and just feeling them and just seeing them smash one by one.
I mean, he is a rabbit and he is a sensei, so I mean, he would have privy to that knowledge, I guess. He'd be able to figure shit.
It didn't take him that long to think of it either.
Just like...
What you're saying is Rabbit is a little unhinged already.
It took him about 5 or 10 minutes to come up with.
He should change his name to Unhinged Rabbit Sensei.
Nah, we're only kidding, Rabbit. Dear. But I'm more of the sort of the psychological torture. I mean, there's like this whole thing with like sleep deprivation and really messing with your head. Well, even putting someone in solitary confinement in prison have studies have shown that is really, really harmful to your mental health if you're put into solitary confinement.
Yeah, it's probably not going to help any situation that they think it's going to help, which I understand that they want to use it as a way of extra punishment. But to be honest, I don't even think jails completely work. And second, I think solitary confinement even doubly doesn't work. Yeah, it's just I don't know. It's like
not productive.
It's not productive. That's the yeah.
There's this show on I'm not sure if it's on Netflix in Canada. I think it's The World's Toughest Prisons, it's called. And this guy goes to all these different prisons around the world. Some of them are really like grimy and violating human rights.
Is it Gordon Ramsay? Like
no, world's worst prison nightmare. Hello, I'm Gordon Ramsay. What is this fucking prison?
You call this a prison? I've seen cardboard boxes that hold things better.
So, what are you? An inmate? An inmate sandwich.
He really connects with the inmate. He's like, yeah, what you in for?
I made a
robbed the convenience store.
Yes,
and why did you rob the convenience store? 'Cause I needed drugs.
And what are you in prison for? I made a video of my pug being a Nazi. But he went to this one, this presenter of this show. So he went to a prison in Norway, I want to say, and you really wouldn't think that it's a prison from the outside. And
what are you? Sorry.
You're right. And what they do, the prison guards actually talk to the prisoners like they treat them human. They're still obviously on guard, they're being vigilant, but they actually sit down. They engage in conversations in they got lounges or living rooms, spaces. They sit down. They'll play card games or board games with the inmates. They do a lot of group therapy sessions, whether that's anger management. I mean, I know they've got those programs in US, UK, and Canadian, all other prisons, but perhaps there's not enough funding going into that. But this Norway prison, even the prisoners actually respected the guards. They were like, actually, I'm still repenting for my crimes. I'm still paying for my crimes. But he goes, I respect the guards. That at the end of the day, yeah, they are prison guards, but they talk to me. They still treat me like a human being.
It's funny because going back to mob mentality, and I don't know how off topic this is getting, but I don't care.
That's all right. It's to do with law and stuff.
It's funny, and a lot of people might, I don't know, disagree with me on this or not, but a lot of criminals are actually victims themselves. And I can't say everyone. I wouldn't bet everyone, but I could almost say everyone is a victim themselves. And people don't understand that. They look, oh, you're a criminal, and you deserve to be punished. But the thing is that it's not productive. There's a lot of prisons in Canada and United States and I'm sure England that are not productive prisons. They put them in behind in a jail cell, and they sit there, and sometimes they do activities and stuff like that too. But really, the most beneficial thing we can do while we're putting them in time out of society is get them so you have a drug addiction. Okay, let's get you some help getting clean off that.
Yeah.
Whereas some people can even gain addictions in prison and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And let's get you some help. Let's get you some psychology and stuff. And then you do that, and people are like, "Oh, they don't deserve that." I'm like, if you don't give that to them, they're gonna go back out and they're gonna hurt someone, and they're gonna become repeat offenders because they're not learning anything in prison.
Yeah, exactly. It's all
they're
about
not being helped.
Rehabilitation.
Exactly. Prison should be rehabilitation, not it should be punishment, but also rehabilitation. But what people want is it just to be this torture and this punishment, and this is what you deserve kind of thing. And it's like, no, because you don't understand. You don't know if this person who has a drug abuse problem and it maybe because they were high and they didn't understand what they were doing led them to do their crime, and maybe because they were addicted to drugs was because they were mentally or physically or abused as a child, and that's what they grew up with or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And it's there's a lot of prisons that are just, I'm sure there's some good prisons out there, I'm sure, that really do want to help society and help the person become a better, outstanding person in society. But there's a lot of people in society with mob mentality that are just no, just they don't deserve anything. It's well, they're still, like you said, they're still human beings. They probably got some sort of shit hand of cards dealt to them in life, and they need to be shown, no, this is not how you behave in society, and if you work hard you can contribute to society and
yeah. See, I'm all for programs in prison, teaching people trades, and helping people. And that's also another reason why they're repeat offenders or people that end up returning to prison, is because they don't know anything outside of prison life, do they? They can't return to civilian life. They don't know how to function.
Yeah, I'm not saying to give them... Well, I mean, I almost think education should be free anyways, but I almost think, I think we should have free education anyways, but I almost think giving them skills to get out and get a job would help, because if they don't get out and they don't get a job and they go back to the way that they're used to, it almost affects society negatively. I don't know, maybe it's something that they have to pay back when they get out of prison. I don't know, but while they're in there, they might as well be doing something productive for their life and society is learning. Like you said, something to do with the trades or something undesirable job training kind of thing, or something to get them started when they get out kind of thing.
What do you think, Switch?
I can only say it's honestly, I don't think about the prison system.
But yeah, if it is available on Canada's Netflix, check it out. It's World's Toughest Prisons. Welcome to Canada's Toughest Prison.
Gordon Ramsay edition.
So is there any method of torture that if you were the torturer, what method of torture would you use? Would you guys use? What about you, Switch? You think of tap into that. Yeah, tap into that inner dark, Switch.
Honestly, I haven't really thought about that part. I'd use a method. I don't even know what kind of method I would use, honestly.
Oh yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. So what are they actually torturing Han Solo? What is it that's actually being done to him in The Empire Strikes Back?
I believe it's some sort of heat thing or something like that they... I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. They don't really show it. I think there is some... I don't know, honestly.
I think the point of it... I think the best point of that movie is that, we actually don't know. That is the point of the movie.
We don't learn anything from that, because they're like, what questions did they ask you? And he's like... They didn't ask any questions, and we don't see what they do to torture him.
And you just hear his screams, don't you? It's like Chewie and C-3PO are just in that cell.
But I think that's part of the beauty of that scene, though. The fact that we don't know is what adds to that scene, in my
what they probably did is going to be my answer to your previous question, Flat, which is they probably... What I would say is they gave him a glass of milk, and they made him eat dry, raw, uncooked oats, and they put on an episode of Jersey Shore.
Is that from Family Guy? I feel like that's from Family Guy.
No, I don't think so. unless I saw it and remembered it and didn't remember I saw it from Family Guy.
It sounds so familiar.
I don't know. I'm literally just thinking of this now. I'm like, what's the worst thing that I wouldn't want done to me? Give him a glass of... Well, I like milk, and I've eaten dry oats before without... Listen, it was the day before payday, and I got low. What do I have in the cupboards? And it's like...
Just scoop a handful.
Oats. And I'm like, I don't really want to make oatmeal. So I just start spooning it. And I'm like, it was the worst. It was the worst thing ever. And I'm like, this is what I'm going to do if I ever torture someone someday. Is I'm going to feed them a glass of milk. I don't know why milk, because it's random. Maybe to throw them off, they're like, "Oh, milk." They'll either hate it or they'll love it and stuff. And then if they hate it, well, that's extra torture. If they love it, they won't expect the oats next, kind of thing. And then I'm gonna put on an episode of Jersey Shore, and probably some like soap opera too, because those are pretty fucking intense to watch. Yeah, my mom watches soap operas, and I'm watching it. I'm like, this. If I was bound down right now, I would probably want to rip my eyeballs out. So, I think that would be good too.
Speaking of eyeballs, I hate torture that like targets the extremities, like toes and fingernails, or eyeballs and eyelids. Like, there's something about like a sharp object just.
Well, I brought this up last week, but I'm gonna bring it up again. Is because it really fits with this topic. Is A Clockwork Orange. I don't know if you said you saw it a long time ago.
A while ago, yeah.
But basically, like, for anybody who doesn't know, they basically want to rehabilitate this guy who's just a complete shithead, and basically their way of rehabilitating is torture, so that every time he goes to do an act of like just shitty act of what he used to do before, he'd get this nauseous feeling, because essentially what they did was they sat him and they bound him and they propped his eyes open so he couldn't blink or anything like that, and they kept doing the eye drops thing, and they gave him some drugs or whatever, and they subjected him to videos and stuff until he felt sick to his stomach from that, and then they released him. And I guess that's what the whole movie kind of and book are about, is just like is it worth torturing people to the point of cruelness, to the point of torture and the point of inhumane methods to rehabilitate people? You know what I mean? Like, in one sense, he got out and he couldn't do any of the things he did before. In the second sense, he lost his humanity, and it was almost like declawing a cat kind of thing, in a way. Because then once they release him, a whole bunch of shitty things happen to him, and he can't do anything about it, because anytime he tries to fight back, he starts feeling sick and kind of like keels over, kind of.
That's it. That's sort of the brainwashing programming as sort of really
as a torturous rehabilitative process.
Yeah. Well, it's also torturous for the victim of his victim that he previously assaulted before he was detained and brainwashed in that. Because that's it.
Yeah.
I remember he was in the bath and he starts singing a song.
Yeah,
because he was whistling.
Well, I'm singing in the rain.
Yeah, that's it.
Because when he robbed this person, he not to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it, because it is a really good, fantastic movie, and I think everybody should go watch it. You might be a little disturbed, but it's a fantastic movie. It's a fantastic book too, and but yeah, him and his drones, or I forget, droggers, or I forget what he calls them. They go and they basically they rob a guy, and they basically cripple him, and they basically have sex with his wife and basically kill her in the Did they? I don't know. Actually, forget if they kill her in the process or
they rape. I thought she commits suiciding.
Yeah, I think
suiciding. Yeah. She commits suicide.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's basically it. And then while he's doing it, the first time he's singing in the rain, and then yeah, when he gets out from all of this stuff, he gets beaten up by his old buddies who are now cops, and then he tries to find shelter, and the closest place is that, ironically, that same place. And yeah, he's in the bathtub and he's singing it, and all of a sudden the guy realizes like that's I don't know if he realizes that's him or not, but it's basically torturing him
Yeah,
to
he's
hear
getting
that.
flashbacks, isn't he?
Flashbacks. Yeah, I think he does recognize it. But yeah, it's a really good movie, and I suggest people watch it. And it really falls under this category because it especially like there's so much thematically with it, in the sense of like he tortures people and then in turn gets tortured by the system, and then gets released and is tortured in his ways that he tortured. So it's kind of like this really huge, it's this movie that makes you really think about like torture and corporal punishment and stuff like that, and what's right and what's wrong with corporal punishment and stuff like that. Like, is it right to do these things, like an eye for an eye? Is it right to, like, how do we address people when they are torturers? Do we torture them back and release them into society? Like, there's a lot of really deep subject matter in A Clockwork Orange. And I think it's a great movie on this whole subject. I suggest watching it.
It's a Stanley Kubrick movie, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I did actually remember watching it back when I did film studies back in sixth one.
We didn't watch it in film school when I was in to college for film. No, I'm just trying to remember. I don't think we did. But like we should have. But we did watch really good ones that were really worth watching. Like Primer and Brick and stuff. But I won't get into that. But the opening scene just alone is just great, like well shot and well put together. And like it's like a narrated opening with this really cool classical sort of computery classical music, and he's just like the pan, like it's just amazing. The opening scene alone, like, and they spoof it in Conker's Bad Fur Day. They have the same sort of music going on and him narrating, and he's the king now, and it sort of sets the game up, like the opening shot sets up the movie.
Yeah, it's been a while since I watched.
I will be back in a second, folks.
Yeah.
Probably Bad Fur Day was a good game though.
I've not played that. Was that like a platformer type?
It was a platformer.
Yeah, I've never played that. I only remember like a couple of scenes from that, from like what I've seen on the internet of like a poo boss or something. You go into some sewers.
Yes, there was a boss made of poo.
The Mighty Poo or something.
The Great Mighty Poo.
Yeah, and he sings a song, doesn't he?
Yes. Saying, I am the Great Mighty Poo. And I'm going to throw my shit test. Yeah, that song is quite fun. The game was quite fun, actually. If you haven't played the game, I highly recommend it. It's funny how the game was made, because it was made under the pretense that the creator of the game, like the creators of the game, the only reason they made it the way they did was under the pretense that well, they were like, oh well, somebody like made a note saying like, oh well, the game is just going to be like another, um, just another platformer or something,
Mm.
and nothing to like write home about or something like that. And they're like, oh, well, we'll take that as a challenge then. Um, so then they instead said, okay. So they made the game, and they purposely made it edgy, like to because they were like, well, no, it's not another platformer. We're going to make this edgy on purpose, um, in a weird sense to kind of battle like the pre notions of like what the game should have been in a weird way.
Mm.
It's one of the things like you gotta you gotta play the game understanding like what they were trying to achieve with it in a weird way.
Yeah, so there's a lot of fourth wall breaking and stuff in.
Oh, definitely, there's a lot of fourth wall breaking. That's part of the charm, but part of it's also like they didn't want to make a kiddie game either, because they were lambasted. For somebody who's like, oh, it's just going to be another kiddie. They were lambasted saying like it's going to be another kiddie platformer or something, and they were like, oh, okay, we'll show you. Like this won't be another kiddie platformer.
Especially in the age of Mario and Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah.
Because did that come on the N64, didn't it?
Yeah, the game was on the N64.
Mm. Is there emulate? Was it available on Steam, or is there emulators of it out there?
Not emulators. It is not available.
Oh darn!
Like it's made by Rare, but Conquer belongs to Nintendo.
Yeah.
Conquer ID belongs to Nintendo.
Mm.
So the only way to get the game is to buy a copy or to play the emulator copy of it. I'm sure you can find a copy.
Yeah.
So,
I was going to ask you, Switch, since you're a massive Superman fan, with the topic of punishment, was to tell us, because I'm not fully knowledgeable of Superman and the whole Superman lore, to tell us about the Phantom Zone, because that's quite a nasty form of punishment. The sort of being exiled to, like what is the Phantom Zone?
So the Phantom Zone is a zone of like you can't feel any like. Okay, so it varies from product to product. I've noticed, like what it does. So some areas like you can't seem to feel anything. Like depending on what you see here, like depending on what you've read or what you, like what you follow. In some iterations, you can't. I mean, in some iterations, you can't seem to feel anything.
Yeah.
And in some iterations, you can feel like everything. Some iterations, like you can't. Like apparently, like age doesn't affect you in some iterations of it.
Oof.
And but you're like in a constant state of kind of not being able to do anything. So it's really weird like that. So it's kind of hard to explain it. Like I've seen different iterations and different like takes on it. Some better than others, in my opinion.
So is it like just like you said, sort of depending on which iteration? Is it like a place outside of time and space itself?
Yeah.
Oof, that's creepy. Being held in stasis for, because how long? Well, depending on the crime, I suppose. But how long do they exile you out to the Phantom Zone, or is it like a permanent?
That depends.
I think it's more of a permanent thing because apparently, in some iterations of the Phantom Zone, it's pretty much like this wilderness where you're pretty much going to die in it. So I think it's more of a, hey, we don't want to kill you, so we're just gonna put you here. No matter what iteration it is, whether it's stasis, the one where they go with stasis, or the one where you're basically on a sort of a different dimension type thing.
Ooh. So I'm trying to remember how it was. Oh shit! Where did my mouse
You okay
just?
there?
Yeah, I don't know where my mouse has just gone. I would not be able to end the
It ran away.
Here we go. Fell down the back there.
You have a mouse infestation now.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember how it was portrayed in Man of Steel. It was because they did send. They sent off Zod and Co to the Phantom Zone, didn't they?
Zod didn't go, no.
I thought they did.
Oh, well, they did at the beginning of the movie, I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like... yeah, again, like, it depends, like, from what you're looking at. Most cases usually treated as, like, a place of... like, it is their prison system on Krypton. They mostly treat it as, like, kind of like a purgatory, like most iterations.
Yeah.
Where somebody will be there kind of only like until they learn their lesson or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
And then they'll be like let go. If not learning their lesson, like how long you spend there is depending on like how bad your crime would be. And the idea is that like, because like apparently it is indicated that like it does not feel good to be there. That's at least the indication I've always got.
Yeah.
Or like the indication, at least like it feels like they're trying to portray. You know, from what I've seen, at least.
Yeah, that must be pretty horrible to be to spend the rest of your life just in nothingness. That's pretty terrifying.
I mean, it is definitely terrifying to think about.
I'm trying to remember. What was the Demolition Man, where they put people in stasis? And they do they like they brainwash you to rehabilitate you while you're in stasis?
It's been a long time since I've watched Demolition Man, and I'm due for another watch very soon.
You know what? I fucking love that bit. Oh, you have been fined 1 credit for violation of the verbal morality statute. But that scene where they look at Sylvester Stallone's like an old video where he's just rescued a lady. This news reporter is going, "How do you justify blowing up so and so millions of dollars worth of damage to a building to save one little girl?" And then the little girl just turns to the journalist and goes, "Fuck you, lady." I die every time.
It's actually a really good movie. I find it. I really like it.
Let me see if I can find. It is so funny.
Demolition Man does whatever a demolition can.
Oh, I think I found it. I think I found the
clip.
Let me just.
Don't you get us any strikes? I'm just kidding.
Here we go. I'll play it for the people as well, but I'll just put the link in the Discord.
Windows, but we can follow along.
I hope this is the scene anyway. Oh, is this the scene? I hope it is.
It is. It's just really long.
Oh, it's at the very end. Right, here we go. So it's at the 44. Ah, come on. Right, let me just get OBS up. Get the window. The old window capture. So I'll just play it for the people. I love this moment. It is so funny. I wonder if they, you know, with the verbal morality statue, would they find the little girl who's presumably an old lady by that point? You have received one verbal morality. You're fine.
No, I think it's as soon as it starts. Like whenever they started that law.
Here we go.
Business back then.
How can you justify destroying a $7 million mini mall to rescue a girl whose ransom was only $25,000? Fuck you, lady!
Yeah, that's what she goes. How can you justify blowing up a $7 million mall to rescue one little girl whose ransom was only $25,000? And I love the little girl just whips round and goes, "Fuck you, lady." What absolute
say the darndest thing.
Absolute savage. It is. It's such a golden movie that.
It's a gem.
It's
definitely a gem. It's too good for us. Like,
and it's quite again sort of Orwellian as well, with like how the government had morphed into this. You know, the police are very anti-violent apprehension of a suspect, and almost like this actually, if political correctness and BLM, you know, all these other sort of activist groups got their way, this is how police would behave. They would, "Computer, give me advice on how to apprehend suspect." He goes, with a calm voice, tell them, or else. The suspect is not responding. It is quite terrifying to think that is possibly where we could end up going, where the laws are so extreme and the police are so inept to deal with that
But on
crime.
the plus side, they're more tolerant than ever before.
On the plus side, I mean, I'm feeling like that seashell bathroom system is.
Yeah, how do the three? I love it that it's such a meme. It's such a meme that, and such a in sci-fi culture that, it's the fun part of not knowing how it works. Like, leaving it ambiguous is kind of, it's left its mark on cinema history. Like, well, yeah, how did the three seashell work? Was it one to scoop the poo out, second one to scrape?
Who knows? I think it's not necessary to do in cinematic as a cinematic device. It's a tool, but I don't necessarily think it should always be the case. But sometimes, depending on the thing, sometimes just having that thing that is not sort of known and they don't really tell the audience ever, sort of can sometimes benefit the film or whatever. You know, like we were talking earlier. Sometimes it's good to explain, and sometimes it's not good to explain, and you just got to really know which is going to benefit.
Oh yeah, what about the people that lived underground in the sewers, like the mutant people? Or they would. What was with that? I've forgotten about. Were they just like people that society forgot about, like the poor and destitute had kind
Something
of
like that,
left them behind, so they were forced to sort of live underground.
Yeah,
I guess so.
Yeah, I'd always forgotten about that. But the higher ups in the government were so corrupt. I'll have to watch that movie again because I forgot why someone breaks. What's his name? Something Phoenix? I forget the bloody character names.
yeah, it's been a long time.
Simon Phoenix, wasn't it? Simon Phoenix and John something. I can't remember the bloody character's name. What was Sylvester Stallone's bloody name?
Oh, God.
I really gotta watch this movie again. I'm gonna have to write it down so I don't.
Demolition
Forget.
Man. Oh, it's such an awesome sci-fi movie.
It's been ages, and I gotta watch Time Cop again soon too.
Oh, John Spartan, that was his name.
Yeah.
But that's weird. That only in the cryo prison, 36 years. So only 36 years passed, and they advanced with technology that fast, with AI, computer systems, seashells.
It's possible. I mean, if you have an economic boom and industrial boom and stuff like that,
Economic
or
boom.
some raccoon boom, then yeah, I can see it happening. It's a little far fetched, and I'm kind of toying with it myself in a project I'm working on. Like, I really want this town to sort of evolve in a very short time, but it is possible. I think, from what I've concluded, it is possible. It's just, you have to really think about it, like what made it a boom, because there's been cities that boomed and it was because of some sort of there's some reason behind it, like it was either the industrial boom or economic boom, or
I mean, take a look at Japan, how well they recovered after World War II.
Yeah,
being nuked twice, and then they have gone on.
If your place is making a lot of money, there's no reason why I can't build giant buildings and stuff like that in a matter of years, And actually, that could actually further the explanation of why everything was so corrupt, because maybe they overspent things while things were good, and then things went bad, and now it's kind of like corruptness and stuff. So,
oh, here we go. So, in the wiki, the plot was saying, so yeah, someone is, I don't know, without spoiling it. Well, basically, I found out, why he's Simon Phoenix is brought back out of sleep. I don't want to spoil it for you if you've not seen it.
I think it was by accident. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but yeah,
I don't think it was done by accident. I think there was actually a plot reason.
Yes,
Yeah.
It says someone, without mentioning names, but basically someone wants Simon Phoenix to assassinate a leader of a resistance group called the the Scraps, which is presumably the underground people, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the one like Dennis, like the group that led Dennis Leary's character, like leading or something.
Oh yeah, I'm an asshole. Sorry, that wasn't in the movie, but
I forgot Jesse Ventura was in it. How come Rob Schneider? It says on Wikipedia, Rob Schneider as Irwin, uncredited. Like, I remember Rob Schneider in bloody Demolition Man.
Yep, I remember him in that movie too.
Yeah, it is weird that they didn't credit it. Pretty sure they did, though. I don't know why saying that.
Actually, funny story about Rob Schneider. He was the only one to move forward with go to the what was the name of the movie? Goddamn, he went to another movie with
Stallone.
Yeah, right after.
Dredd.
It was that the Dredd movie right after, like Judge Dredd.
Oh yeah, Dredd. Yeah.
Like, do you think Stallone just kind of like goes up to him and is just like, "I like him. You come with me."
Maybe he likes his attitude. Maybe Snyder was like, "Hey Stallone, you can do it," and he's like, "You know what? I like your attitude. Take me with me." Like picks him up and like walks away with him to another set.
Oh dear. Apparently, it got into an accounting controversy in 2017. Demolition Man. Sylvester Stallone's loan-out company filed a lawsuit against Warner Brothers over a disbursement of profits from the movie.
Really?
Interesting.
But I love the movie's sense of humour. Like, it was still... it was tongue-in-cheek. I love when he goes to the museum to get some guns. He's like, "Where are all the guns at?" And he
Yeah.
goes and he starts doing like these martial art kicks to like this bulletproof glass. It's like, ah! And he goes, "Hello, sir. Could you is there something I can help you with?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'm trying to get to the guns." And he's like, "I'm afraid they're only for display, sir." And then he picks them up and throws the guy through the glass to get to the guns. Oh dear. You gotta love how John Spartan kills Simon Phoenix at the end. Is pretty.
Yeah.
Well, if we're keeping that would be the part I wouldn't spoil.
Yeah. But apparently there was a plagiarism controversy as well. Some Hungarian science fiction writer said that Demolition Man was based off of his novel Holtak Harker, Fight of the Dead, published in 1986.
Oh my god. Well, I guess, yeah.
It involves terrorists and counter-terrorist soldiers cryogenically frozen, awoken in the 22nd century to find violence has been purged from society. I mean,
it's kind of, I can see it, but it's kind of
far-fetched.
Well, Demolition Man it wasn't just violence; it was basically all forms of crime.
Well, I mean, it's what they're saying is that they are the ones who came up with a society where there's no crime. It's kind of like, I get where they're coming from, and yes, it is very similar, but it's also one of those concepts where it's like, can you really claim that that's something that you hold ownership to?
Yeah.
Because that's a pretty common idea. Like, there's tons of ideas of utopian societies and stuff, and societies where, I don't know, maybe they read the book and got inspired by it. I don't know, but I think that's too. I think that's reaching for too many straws.
Grasping
for too many straws.
What makes me laugh? It says in the movie it's set in 2032, so who knows when in the year 2032 when we're doing an episode of the Flat Pack. We'll have to see if any of the laws that were in Demolition Man have been instated into law by 2032 in reality.
We'll just kind of come in there like one of the laws comes in and we're like, we did it, fam. It's legit now.
Excuse me, well, I gotta go use the seashells.
He doesn't know how to use the seashells. Oh dear. You have been punished for not knowing how to use the seashells.
Is that how that works? We're punished for
I'm pretty sure the punishment would be you can't use the bathroom.
We're gonna stitch your bumhole up.
No, I mean, like, it'd be equivalent to how torturous it would be if when all of a sudden there's no toilet paper in the bathroom. And you're like, fuck.
I was gonna say, what happens if you go to a public loo? They don't have toilet paper. They've just got 3 seashells that someone's used. Do you have to take your own 3 seashells with you?
I mean, we should really start some sort of fan theory on how the seashells work. I'm sure there are fan theories out there about this.
They actually are. There are actual fan theories.
I mean, there needs to be.
I think it was in Deus Ex Human Revolution. There was a little 3 seashells Easter egg. I think it's if you go to, I think it's in any bathroom, or maybe it's just Crumple Boy. You'll have to correct me on this because he knows a lot about Deus Ex. But I think it's in Adam Jensen's apartment. There's 3 seashells next to the toilet.
I didn't ask for this.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool little Easter egg.
Something I wanted to bring up for Crumple Point, to sort of speak on his behalf. because I know he really loved the new Dread movie, and when we're talking about corporal punishment, torture, and stuff like that, just what they did in Dread with the slow mo and the throwing them off and the building and stuff, would to torture them. It's just like, was it kill them and then shove them, give them a hit of slow mo, kill them and shove them off, so it makes it seem like they're having a slow death kind of thing.
Well, they're almost in ecstasy. That's the worst thing, is that they're the people that are high on this slow-mo are in complete ecstasy. They're like, oh yeah, this is amazing. And then just feeling the, skull smash into the ground.
Like part of the story was that like the slow-mo was part of the drug. They felt, right? Like, so they weren't even aware of...
But they also did it as a torturous thing just to...
Oh yeah. Like the part of it was like to make you feel the effects much slower, right? Because like not only would you feel the effects of the drug slower, but the pain would be prolonged too. Like when you're feeling the pain, that was part of the effect, right? So yeah.
God, I want a bloody Dread sequel. That was such a good movie. That came out 2012, didn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
God, that was a fantastic movie.
Yeah, it was really good, and I mean, I don't care what anybody says. I liked. It may have been corny and may have not been completely accurate, but I really did like the Stallone Judge Dredd. But I also really liked Dredd, and I want them to do another one with Carl Urban also.
He showed so much character, and all you could see was just his mouth and jaw.
Yeah.
And he portrayed so much character in his voice and
some people that show their entire face.
And the body language. See, that's the thing with the Sylvester Stallone one, was that I think he took his helmet off too much.
Yeah. And it was corny and stuff.
Yeah.
But I still liked it, and I always get a kick of say to people like, "I am the law."
I have a book of the law. I am the law.
Law.
I mean, there's another really brilliant movie with regards to laws and punishment, and that's Equilibrium. I know that we've spoken about that.
Excuse me, but it's pronounced Equilibrium.
Right, Mr. Pretentious. But,
just kidding.
But to literally make emotions outlawed.
Yeah.
What was it, Switch? Was it World War III happened, and to prevent another war, they felt that emotion was what fuels war?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And they suppress with a drug, don't they? They suppress emotion.
Yeah, they suppress it with a drug.
A few things. The drug and burning paintings and anything that'll give any sort
Well, like anything that could have an emotional connection was immediately like pay attention, like the world is designed very like black and white, like you're not allowed to have anything that could be considered a connection. Your children, like, you actually don't see them for a majority of the day because they're like actually taken to like training camps and stuff like that.
Actually, I would see us going to that future more than I'd see us going to the Demolition Man future.
Yeah. I mean,
because right now it's like, you're not allowed to have emotions, and you're not allowed to
if you're a straight white man.
Yeah.
Oh dear. But I love that moment where he, like, even the fact that people live in massive tall apartment blocks, it's all grimy and gritty and just very clinical, and what's the term I'm looking for? It's a building apartment blocks that are built for purpose, not for they aren't created to look artistically pleasing.
Yeah.
And I love that. And they also, with the high-rise apartments, they with the windows, they're not clear windows. They're all like they've got like a layer of like a film layer
Yeah,
on the windows,
like
and
like a tint. Yeah.
it's a tint. Yeah, that's it. And he starts clawing at the window, and he sees the sunrise, doesn't he?
He does.
Which doesn't make sense because you could just go outside your apartment and see the sunrise. Stop right there, sex offender! You're broken the law.
Was it another torturous film? What kind of torturous film is 8mm? Did you ever see 8mm?
Is that with
Nicolas Cage?
No, that's one movie I've not watched yet.
Joaquin Phoenix. It is fucking crazy. And I forget the second one. I like the second one too, but I can't quite remember. It's been a long time.
9mm?
8mm, 8mm, and 8mm 2, starring Nicolas Cage and Joaquin Phoenix, and the second one stars Joaquin Phoenix, but I don't think it's his same character that he played in the first one. I can't remember, but anyways, yeah, it's about a private investigator that's hired by a rich widow she finds in the vault of her late husband after he passed away a snuff film, which is like where they have sex and kill the person on film, and it's like a form of entertainment for very, very sick individuals, that might add. But so they send him on this quest or this job to find the makers of the film, because she wants to know if the girl was actually killed on the film that her husband had. And I recommend the movie because I warn you, it's a very, very intense movie. But it is a good movie, and I'd almost say that would be something, this whole thing of snuff films and stuff like that be a form of torture and whatnot.
Yeah. So was it like movies like Hostel as well? They're like pretty grim with regards to torture.
Yeah.
Oof.
Saw. The Saw series.
Oh yeah, of course. I forget about that. Would that count as self-inflicted torture? I mean, well, someone's forcing them to.
I wouldn't say it's self-inflicted because they
will die.
Essentially they have no choice, really. Like, so it's a form of, I would almost say, more than physical torture, it'd be mental torture. Because they are doing the physical torture to themselves because they choose to do it because psychologically someone's making them do it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the Saw movies.
So yeah, some of those bloody, they're nasty. I think it was Saw 4 or 5 where what was it, the one? He's like he's stood up on like this, almost like a crucifix type thing, and it twists round each limb until it breaks the arms and the legs, and then it eventually twists his head.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nasty. And the one with the paedophile strapped to the bed. That's like a four-post bed, and he's got to press these two buttons that make these ice picks fall down into his eyes. That he doesn't do the second one in time, so it literally just tears off every limb. These posts just pull away and pull his limbs off. Oh, bloody grim.
Yeah, it's crazy.
These Saw movies are known for being crazy.
Yeah, like, who comes up with that kind of stuff?
Actually, I think the first two Saw movies are the best ones. After that, not so much.
Hmm.
That's a personal opinion.
Yeah, no, the first two are really good.
I actually eventually got my wife to watch them. She actually really enjoyed them. She didn't used to like horror years ago. She was like, "Oh no, I'll be sick," or that really freaks me out. But she started getting more and more into horror, and I eventually persuaded her to watch the Saw movies. Like, I said, apart, like, this is really cool, like, detective thriller moments. The cop is trying to catch this killer, and yeah, she actually really got into them, and we watched the most recent one, or that was like a couple of years old. Jigsaw, I think it was called.
Yeah, I think they eventually started getting good again. There was one later one. I haven't seen them in a long time, and I don't think I've seen the last one. But I know that there's one that came out that I remember being like, "Oh, this was actually better than the last few," kind of thing.
Yeah.
I wanted to see more, but at the same time, it's one of those stories where it really needed to sort of wrap up, kind of thing. So, but as far as like torture or torturous things go, then that those are good examples.
Yeah. So I mean, some people label those types of movies like torture porn.
I kind of see why.
Yeah. It was like what I was saying earlier with regards to depending on how a film frames it, whether it's the bad guy doing it to a good character or the other way around, whether it's a good character doing it against the bad guy, it's cathartic, isn't it, when it's the good guy doing it?
Well, it can also be cathartic if it's a bad guy doing it to a really bad person who might feel like they deserve it.
Yeah.
Like,
I think,
the Punisher.
Yeah, I think it depends on the context, doesn't it, Switch?
It can, yeah, definitely. Context is key, as they say.
So yeah, some of that stuff that the Punisher, like the Thomas Jane Punisher movie, when he's got that guy hanging upside down
with the popsicle,
the popsicle and the blowtorch, and he goes and he puts the blowtorch on the steak, doesn't he? And he puts the lolly on the guy's back, thinking he's like, "Oh God, I'm getting my back burned." And he spins him around, and he sees this steak is just cooking. He's like, and he's sick. Doesn't he stick the popsicle in his mouth as he walks away?
Yeah,
that was funny. It's like, "You bastard!"
Or like there was torture on the other end too, where who was it? I can't remember which character it was that started pulling the guy's piercings out. Oh, it was
it was Ben Foster's character that was getting his piercings pulled, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, but I'm trying to think of the guy. He's in a lot of things too. Oh, he was in Remember the Titans. He was one of the coaches, but I don't know his name. But he was the sort of right-hand man guy. But yeah, he started pulling the piercings out or whatever.
Oof. Yeah, I remember that was nasty. That was.
Yeah, that was a form of torture or whatnot.
Yeah.
I'll torture you.
So, have you guys got any other? I was gonna say we're coming up to about an hour and a half. Have you guys got any anything else to add before we wrap up?
Don't torture people.
Obey the law.
I am the law.
Something, something, something.
Dark side.
Sure.
So yeah.
But yeah, I really don't think I have anything else to add to this other than we've gone through many different types of torture.
Yes.
We've gone through many different laws and sort of within fictional world as well. We hope this, we hope that our conversations on each of our episodes helps a lot of creative people out there. It's obviously like our big supporters like Devine. we've had sort of other indie creators on as well. Speaking of which, I keep getting approached by a load of other. It's due to John Lemus. A big thank you to him, and I forget what his bloody other Twitter handle is. Is it in Indie Comics? I forget what the.
I couldn't tell you.
I can't remember what the bloody. I should know it. Hang on a sec. Indie Comics Showcase. That's it. It's or at indie_comics. Has forwarded me with a few other people, sort of other independent creators that would that have Kickstarters currently and would like to be on the show. I'll sort of off air. I'll run it by you guys. Just sort of tell you. But yeah, we're getting more approached by more people since we had Dean Kish and Angardo. Speaking of which, Angardo from Sinopa Publishing. He's got 8 days left on his Kickstarter for 47 Furious Tales, and they're nearly at their. I keep forgetting that it's Canadian US dollars, isn't it?
Yeah, well, there's even a difference between Canadian and so.
Yeah, where is it? I'll find the.
So it would look because he's in the US. It's going to look different to him than it is to me and Switch.
Yeah.
And,
here we go.
And then it's going to look different to you.
So his $4,000. So they're not far off from their $4,000 goal. In pounds, it's so they've got £3,057 of their goal, which is £5,037. They've got 115 backers and 8 days to go. So I'm really wishing Angardo the best. Yeah, it's a really cool Kickstarter. Yeah, we had it.
I honestly hope he gets it. It's a story. The art in the story, like I haven't read the story, but the art from the previews I've seen look really good, and it sounds like a comic that's really going to be kind of interesting in a history lesson if it's what it as it's pitched,
Yeah, I'm really excited for it. But yeah, I'm really glad because I was starting to worry, like, ooh, he doesn't seem to be.
He's still got a ways to go, but I mean, he's doing better. I think.
Yeah.
That we can keep the momentum going.
But we've got Zero Cool in the chat. We're just about to say we're now wrapping up, dude. But so yeah, thank you to everyone that has watched. I think we did have a few other viewers watching at the time. No one in the chat though. So yeah, like I said, don't forget to check out the Flat Pack show, sort of our other videos in the Flat Pack playlist. The evergreen topics, as always. The Flat Pack show is every Wednesdays. It's 11 PM GMT, sort of 6 PM Eastern. Don't forget to subscribe to all of these guys' channels and on their Twitter as well. So with that, I've been Flatmeister. It's been Switchpoint.
Yep, it's been Switchpoint. Sorry, I've been working on a piece in the background.
No, you're alright, dude. You're okay. Oh, you've been drawing, have you?
Not really drawing. I've been working on more graphic design piece or something.
Yeah, alright. And so yeah, it's been Switchpoint. It's been Nerd Waffle.
Remember to hug the person next to you, and as always, keep it toasty.
Keep it torturous. And it's been me, Flatmeister. Once again, sorry, Crumple Point couldn't be here. He was prematurely executed. Had the chopping block. So yeah, with that, it's been the Flat Pack. We'll catch you next Wednesdays. Next Wednesday, not Wednesdays. Take it easy, everyone. Bye.
We'll catch you on the Vins.
See ya.